Hello and welcome to another Rightly Witterings. Today I'm going to be doing some more paper comparisons, seeing how this stuff, Baystate Blue, copes with one of these, a 1.1mm stub, TWSBI Go, and what damage they can do to sheets of paper of different types. So I've got a whole bunch of notepads here. I'm going to go through. Now this is going to be slightly different because today I'm using some stop-go photographs and I've never done it before. It's a new novel concept I've got on this camera. I'm hoping it's focusing on my face currently. It seems to be thinking about it. Hopefully that's a good sign. But with the stop-go, stop-motion stuff, I'm going to be seeing how that works anyway. So it saves mucking about doing all sorts of nonsense with sheets of paper. In the meantime, those who told me that this stuff in one of these or anything else is a bad idea because it will stain, yeah, you're absolutely right, it has slightly, but it's a TWSBI Go. I think I can afford it. The main thing is the Noodler's ink is such a brutal type of ink. It goes through anything. So I think it's a worthwhile type of ink to use for this comparison. So if I've got Noodler's Baystate Blue and some Diamine Syrah, however you pronounce it, the nice red, then that should give a good comparison about how papers cope with different types of inks. Anyway, that's enough of that. Let's get back to the actual thing now. Now you can see here I've got the sheets that I did last week with my own favourite Bank 50 GSM paper, some plain copier paper that was pretty damn awful, some lovely Atoma paper that still didn't seem to be too happy with the Baystate Blue, and some cheap students' Atoma paper. So this week I thought it would be fun to go through some basic things. So we have a Rhodia notepad. We have an ancient notepad that I've been using for donkey's years, but still has lots of paper in it. Another Rhodia pad. This is a Leuchtturm. And another Rhodia notepad. And then two Moleskines, a plain one and one of their professional range, because I thought it would be useful to see how these all worked and compared. Now what I'm going to do is film this, because it's me on my own, I'm going to film this using time-lapse, and then I'll summarise how it all went at the end. I hope that all makes sense. So let's see how these things react. And here you can see just how appallingly bad a chap can be at trying to do stop animation type photography. And now, just for those who may doubt me when I say that I clean my pen carefully after using Baystate Blue, that's how carefully I clean it. And it hasn't actually taken all of the blue out of the section, but still, never mind, it's not an expensive pen. So here we go, the first one, Rhodia on a notepad. The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog, etc. That's a dog that's just woken up. And on the reverse, there has been some bleed through of the Noodlers, nothing at all from the Syrah from Diamine, which is sort of what I would expect. Very little bleed through, and I have to admit there's very little feathering either. This paper is very nice. My only trouble with it is I tend to find Rhodia has some sort of coating that means that ink takes a lot longer to dry. Moving on, we have this rather overused notepad that has been in my family since the 1960s, I think. Now, I don't know how visible that's going to be with this camera and how well it's focusing, but there is quite a lot of feathering, especially if you look at the Q, the P, Nothing much on the Syrah, which is, I find, impressive. If we look at the reverse, the Syrah does show through, but wow, that Noodler's Baystate Blue just wants to make its presence felt wherever it is, doesn't it? Let's have a look at this Rhodia notepad. This one is one of the cahiers. It isn't a carnet. I don't know why I wrote carnet. I just wasn't thinking. So the quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog. There is no visible feathering to my eye from this distance, but I'm not wearing reading glasses. Ha! Like an idiot. On the Diamine Syrah, underneath it, there's no indication of any problems whatsoever, apart from my using things like the word carnet instead of cahier. And on the reverse, even the Baystate Blue hasn't come through. Now, let's just return to the other bit of Rhodia paper and compare the two, because that is significantly worse than that. So I believe the cahier has got better quality paper in it. It says it's standard 80 GSM Rhodia paper. This says it's standard 80 GSM Rhodia paper, but certainly doesn't seem to work the same. Looking at cahiers, let's have a look at the Leuchtturm. Absolutely no feathering on that, apart from maybe slightly at the beginning of the T there. Don't know if that's visible again. On the Diamine Syrah, nothing whatsoever. And on the reverse, even Leuchtturm has a problem with the Baystate Blue. But although you can see shadowing here where the writing's showing through slightly, there's definitely no bleed through. It's perfectly good. Another Rhodia notepad. Now this is a type that I have been using for some years. I used them before I used my Moleskines as general notepads, and I would carry these around with me wherever I went and made notes on stories and what I was planning to write. And I did sketches occasionally when I was abroad. This is from many years ago when I last managed to go on a holiday. Hey ho. Right. So how does it work with ink? Pretty bad beginnings of feathering all over with the Baystate Blue, whereas the Diamine, a little bit, but really not enough to notice. Now, just bear in mind, I am using TWSBI Ecos with 1.1 stub nibs, so these things are throwing out a lot of ink. The Diamine has a slight shadow. Very slight. The Noodler's Baystate is breaking through, but it's nothing like as bad as it is on some of those other notepads. So these Rhodia pads, not bad. And now we get to the exciting bit. All over the world, people buy Moleskine notepads because they're so good. I don't anymore, because I beg to differ. Now look at this. There is feathering on every single letter on the Baystate Blue. It is diabolically bad in places. That must be the quality of the paper. Here, with the Diamine, there is the beginning of feathering, but I wouldn't put it more than that. It's not bad. On the reverse side, this page for me would be unusable with Baystate Blue. Absolutely unusable. Yes, it's okay with the Diamine, but that shadow is significantly worse than, say, if we return to my Rhodia, look at it there. The shadow there is a great deal worse than the shadow there. Hopefully that shows up on this camera, I'm not absolutely certain. So to me, Rhodia is unusable. Now that's a Rhodia notepad that I bought several years ago. This is a brand new Rhodia notepad, the professional version. Let's see, first of all, if I can find out where... Oh, I did. Right. Now, with this, there is nothing like as bad feathering. It's a great deal improved. Just demonstrate that again. So if we look at the feathering on this, that is really quite dreadful to my eye. The feathering on this is really not bad at all. I don't think that's a problem. However, he says, bashing the camera again, let's see what it's like on the other side of the paper. That is a dramatic improvement. Again, let's just get the equivalent page up on the Rhodia notepad, and there you go. Now you can see the ink is breaking through on the page here, but there's 2 dots there, there's a couple of dots there. It is a great deal better. On the Syrah, there's no breakthrough at all. There is a slight breakthrough on this paper, even with the Diamine Syrah. So it either means that Rhodia have got their act together and are producing far better quality paper, certainly for their professional notebooks, which is possible. Or it means that, as with, for example, the different types of Rhodia, basically you pay a little bit more and you get slightly better quality. You might even get a person who's written who remembers where he wrote the bits. Now this is really superb. Probably about the same as the Moleskine professional version. This, on the other hand, the standard notepad, really is not as good. However, this is a notepad. You know, it's one of those things where you make a note and you throw it away. That was quite interesting, actually. The modern Moleskine professional did a great deal better than I was expecting. The Rhodia, I thought the notepad was going to be as good as the Cahier. It wasn't. I thought the Leuchtturm was going to be significantly better because my bound hardback versions of the Leuchtturm are extremely good and almost bulletproof, even when it comes to noodlers. So I'll look at some hard-backed notepads next time, I think, especially the Leuchtturm. And I think that's about all I've got time for today. I've got a very busy time coming up because I've just been asked to work with the Smithsonian Institute travel company, and I'm going to be giving some talks for a week, all the way from Torquay in the south, talking about Agatha Christie, coming up across Dartmoor and talking about Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and his inspiration, talking about other authors, then up to the Cotswolds and the Forest of Dean, talking with Andrew Taylor and others about the writers there, back through to Oxford, talking about Dorothy L. Sayers, Colin Dexter, and then finally back to London, where I'll be talking about P.D. James and basically all those authors. There's lots of them. So I've got a lot of work coming up. I've got to decide what I'm going to be talking about and where and when, as well as cracking on with Blackjack number 5, not Vive, 5. I come from Dartmoor, you know, it's Vive. Right, so there you go. Thanks a lot for watching. If you enjoyed that, please go down to the link at the bottom where there's a connection for Patreon, and then you can help support this channel by supplying me with the funds to do so. You can also go to the bottom, put in any comments you want, hit the subscribe button, hit the share button, hit the bell button if you want to be notified when the next video comes through, all those other things, you know all about them. And meantime, I've washed my pen. Now I've got to put it back together again. What joy. Thanks a lot for watching. Take care. Cheers.